Hello, Shelley from Spin Cushions here, Crochet Designs by Shelley Husband. Today I'm going to show you how to make part 8 of Granny Square Academy, this pattern called Cluster Claire, all about clusters, different types. So let's get started. And we're going to start this one a little bit differently because there are so many stitches in the first round. So we'll attach our yarn to our hook with a slip knot and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to join to that first chain with a slip stitch and we're going to create, that's going to be our loop that we're going to work into. It might be how you're used to doing a traditional granny square. So there is a hole in the center there. If you can be confused, pop a stitch marker in there. Okay, now we're going to do clusters from the very beginning. So the first thing we're going to do is chain 3, which is going to be our first stitch, and then we're going to do a 2-stitch cluster. So 2 treble cluster UK terms, 2 double crochet cluster US terms. So yarn over, poke your hook in the hole in the center, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, stop there, yarn over, poke your hook in, pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's, we've started 2 stitches. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. We'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to do a 3-stitch cluster. So same thing again, yarn over, pull up a loop through 2, stop there, 1, through 2, stop there. We've started 2. Now we're going to start our 3rd. 2. Now yarn over and pull through 4 loops on our hook. And we'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And we'll do that 6 more times. So we end up with six clusters, except we're not going to do the 8th 3 chain space. I'll show you that at the end. If things get tight, just move your stitches around and you'll make room for your clusters. So I'll do 6 more clusters and I'll show you what's next. Okay, I have my 8 clusters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll just start and finish the last one. Now this time, instead of chaining 3 and joining with a slip stitch, we're going to chain 1 and join with a half stitch, half treble UK terms, half double US terms. But we're not going to join to the top of our 3rd chain. We're actually going to join to the top of our 2-stitch cluster, which is this hole here. Okay, so I've yarned over, poked my hook in the top of the cluster, pull a loop to the front, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So that puts our hook and yarn as if we're in the middle of a 3 chain space, and joining to the top of that cluster makes that chain through plus the 2-stitch cluster look more like a 3-stitch cluster. Okay, round 2, very similar. We're just going to be working into the chain 3 spaces. So we're going to chain 3 to be our first stitch, do a 2-stitch cluster over the joining cluster stitch, which is in that big hole. Through 2, yarn over, start the next one, through 2, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip that stitch, this all together, and in the next 3 chain space do a 3-stitch cluster. Start 1 stitch, stop, start a 2nd stitch, whoops, stop, start a 3rd stitch, through all, and chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll go all the way around and end in the same way, but I'll show you that again when I get there. Okay, I've done all of my clusters and we're going to end the same way we did last time. Chain 1 and join with a half stitch to the top of our cluster, which is in there. Okay, now don't worry if it's a little bit cupped at this point. The next round will help flatten that all out. So we're going to square off in this round, and we're going to start by doing chain 4 to take the place of our first stitch, because we have a tallest stitches in the corner. Then we're going to do a normal stitch over the joining stitch. Then we're going to do a stitch in the next stitch, which is in the cluster where we joined to. Oops, sorry for bumping the tripod. Then we're going to do 3 stitches in the 3 chain space. 1, 2, 3, 1 in the next stitch in the cluster, and then we're going to do our corner in the next 3 chain space. So our corner in this case is 1 normal stitch, then 1 taller stitch, the yarn over twice, through 2, through 2, through 2, chain 2. So this is a double treble UK terms or a triple in US terms. We do another one of those, and then a normal stitch, treble UK, double US in that space, and we continue around squaring off. I'll show you the rest and how to finish off. Okay, so I've done all my repeats. I just need to finish off that first corner. So do a normal stitch in that same place as our first stitches, then a tall stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and join to the top of the 4th chain of our starting chain. So look for your first real stitch, and then this one over here is the one we want. We're going to join with a double crochet UK terms, single crochet US terms. Oops. Without splitting the yarn, if at all possible. That's better. Okay, right, next round, fairly easy. Chain 3 starting chain, then we're going to do a stitch over the joining stitch, just normal one. We're going to do a stitch in the next 2 stitches. So the first one is in where we joined to the top of that 4 chain. Then we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip 2 stitches. So we're going to skip 1, 2, and in this middle stitch of the 3, we're going to work a 3-stitch cluster. So before we worked clusters into 3 chain spaces, now we're going to work one into this stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull the loop up, through 2, stop there, in the same hole. Start your 2nd stitch, and in the same hole, start your 3rd stitch. When you have 4 on your hook, yarn over, pull through all of them. Chain 2, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and do a stitch in the last 2 stitches of the side. And our corners are 2 stitches, chain 2, 2 stitches, all our normal stitch. So I'll do that all the way around and show you the next part. Okay, I've done all of my repeats, and now I just need to do 2 stitches in the same place as our first stitches. And chain 1, join with a stitch to our top of our 3rd chain, and off on the next round. Round 5, chain 3 starting chain. So that's 1, 2, 3. Stitch over the joining stitch. Then we're going to do a stitch in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in this 2 chain space we're going to do a 3-stitch cluster again, just like we did earlier. 1, start 2, start 3, yarn over, pull through all 4. We're going to chain 3. We're going to skip that stitch, which is the cluster, and in this 3 chain space do another 3-stitch cluster. 1, 2, 3, and finish. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 stitches and do a stitch in the last 2 stitches of the side. 1, 2, and it's onto our corners, which is 2 stitches, chain 2, 2 stitches. I will do that all the way around and then show you the last round. Okay, I've done my clusters all the way around. Just need to do 2 stitches in the same place as our first stitches. 1, 2, chain 1, join with a stitch to the top of our 3rd chain. There we go. All right, the last round is an easy round. Just double crochet as UK, single crochet as US. We start with 1 over the joining stitch. Pop a stitch marker in there if you need help to find it later. Then we're going to do 1 in every stitch. 1, there's 4 stitches first. 2, 3, 4. In the 3 chain space, we'll do 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. In this cluster, we'll do 1, 3 in the 3 chain space. 1, 2, 3. 1 in the cluster. 3 in the 3 chain space. 1, 2, 3. Got 4 stitches left, 1 in each of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. Corner is 1 stitch, chain 2, 1 stitch. So I'll do that all the way around and show you how to finish this one off. All right, all the way around done. Just need to do 1 more stitch in that same place as our first one. Chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to our first stitch. And there we have it. Cluster Claire is done. I'll pick up my scissors. Now, if you find that your center hole has opened up a little bit like mine, if you compare that to this one, just use the tail from the start to cinch it closed as you weave in your end. And it might be a little bit wonky, but give it a quick block and it will be nice and flat, just like this one. So there you go, Cluster Claire from Granny Square Academy, part 8. I need 2 more parts to go. Hope you're enjoying it. If you don't know what it is, head to spincushions.com and look for the Granny Square Academy tab. Thanks very much. Bye.